Welcome, everybody, to the Dissonant Echoes podcast, episode 9. Today, it's me, Alan, and my co-host, Adrian, and we have special guest, Brett, from Acrid Tomb and Dark Watcher. How's it going, Brett?
It's going great.
Well, thanks for being on. This is my first time seeing you face-to-face, so that's always fun, working with people over the internet on music and whatnot, just talking over Discord.
Yep.
But we're real people. We exist. Here we are. And you got your Ulcerate shirt on, which is definitely like tickling my fancy. I love that band.
Yes, sir.
You got a favorite album of theirs?
Usually tie up between Everything is Fire or Staring to Death, probably.
Oh, yeah. Dude, Staring to Death, the whole thing is such a just mood. I think they used like a special tuning for that album. It's like E flat, but it just has such a dark vibe. It's so just, they're an impressive band in general. All their albums are, but that one really sucks you in. I really like the new one a lot too. I'm a big fan. And so, and as much as I love Ulcerate, I actually haven't checked out the first couple albums like all the way through. So I've still got to do that.
Yeah, Everything is Fire is complete classic. Really breaks the bounds of just like breaks beyond like what you think of as tech death, because a lot of people don't even think of them as tech death really, but it's just this really awesome middle ground of atmospheric and like post and just extremely chaotic technical death metal.
Yeah, my bandmate Gabe was telling me like that he thinks of them as more of like a post metal band than like a straight death metal band, and I was like, I totally see that. They do a lot of atmospheric stuff for sure. Awesome band, big inspiration to me for sure. So yeah, I mean that's a good segue right there. So you've got a couple projects that I know about, maybe some I don't know about, but let's just talk about those first, and then we'll get into like how you got there later on. So, Acrid Tomb, that's how we met. I think you found me from Reddit. Is that right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I guess I posted on Reddit that I was a vocalist looking for a project or something like that, and you hit me up like I think it was like 6 or 8 months later, something like that, and I was free. So I was like, yeah, send me some stuff over and we'll see. And the tracks you sent me over were just crushing. They were awesome. So I was immediately interested in working together and had a lot of fun writing and recording for that split that we did. Which go ahead and just plug it right now. What's it called and where can people find it?
The split we did was Acrid Tomb and Tomb of Annihilation. They're a great band from Virginia. And the split was called Hermetic Invocations, I believe. And you can get it on Bandcamp. I think there's a YouTube stream. It's on Spotify. Yeah, it's on Spotify. Yeah.
Yeah, Bandcamp is where you can get it if you want to support, and you can get it either from the label or directly from Acrid Tomb as well. Actually, I think if you try to get it from the label, it's physical only, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they ship from like Germany, I think.
Right. And then do you still have any copies physical for that?
Yeah, I got CDs.
Okay, so you can buy them in the US. Shipping would be better there too. Awesome. So tell me about Acrid Tomb. I was not the first vocalist for that, so tell me about the origins of that.
Well, like all my projects except for Dark Watcher, I always start off wanting to like do like a kind of a tribute attitude. Like I wanted to do like Suffocation. I was like first couple tracks I want to do like a Suffocation style, and then usually after the first release is, I start figuring out how to make it a little more unique. So we did just a self-titled demo in, I guess it's 2021. It was a 2-track demo, and I worked with Andrew from Involtation and the Wake Dead Gathering, and he's an awesome dude, but he had a kid around the time of the split, so he couldn't commit to recording for that one.
Yeah, awesome vocalist as well, for sure. I would say really unique style, fits the music really well, and I really like that first demo you guys did a lot. So check that one out too, everybody. So yeah, how'd you find out, or how'd you meet him?
We were in a mutual Discord server, and I remember, so I already had some material out for, no, it wasn't Dark Watcher. It was for my other band, Cynocephalus. It's a war metal style band. And I remember him. I remember posting that I saw that he bought my demo, and I thought that was so cool because I'd already heard like the Wake Dead Gathering. I was like, oh, this is an established guy. It's like supporting my music. And then somebody tagged him. I didn't realize he was in the Discord server where I was posting about it. And I don't know. We just like interacted there, and then eventually I think I asked him to record on the Acrid Tomb demo, basically.
Yeah. You also had live drums on that first demo. Can you talk about that?
For Acrid Tomb?
On the first demo.
Yeah. Let's see, it was Jared Moran, I think. Yeah, he's a cool dude. We didn't really work out for the next one. Just some stuff kind of we were tied up in different ways. I needed to get it out. But yeah, he recorded live drums for that and the Cynocephalus. I did a split with Cynocephalus for that he recorded for. He's a good drummer.
Yeah, dude. The production was really cool on that one too. Just overall, I'm a big fan. So yeah, that's really cool. And then later on, you needed another vocalist, and we connected and we worked on Hermetic Invocations, and yeah, just a lot of fun to be able to work on some like old school type death metal, something I don't normally get to do. Yeah, I think probably my favorite thing about that was you wrote the lyrics for the first track, and then I ended up writing the lyrics for the second one, and I basically just wrote straight up about Dark Souls. So
Yeah.
it's fun to be a little bit nerdy and get that out. Pretty easy to figure out if anybody knows about that, if they read along, but yeah, really cool stuff. So that's basically Acrid Tomb. And by the way, you're based in Missouri?
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And then so I know about that, obviously. I know about Dark Watcher, which is another project of yours. That's like, what would you call that?
Like style wise, spaghetti western, not really country, kind of I usually go for Americana because it's a little more broad term. But yeah, it's like western inflected black metal, I guess.
Right. So you do think of it as black metal, because I can hear a little bit of death in there, just a little bit, but it definitely leans towards the
for sure.
black side of metal, and that's a really cool project too. I was really curious what your like inspirations for that were, and you can go ahead and correct me if I'm wrong and off base here, but I got this like I got an inkling that you might possibly have been a little bit influenced by Stephen King. Tell me if I'm totally off there.
Like Dark Tower type.
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I read Stephen King. I have not read Dark Tower though.
Okay. Yeah, The Gunslinger is what I was thinking of when I was listening to that for sure. It just gave me those vibes, but there's plenty of different dark western influences that you could have had. So tell me what you were influenced by.
Well, I remember the first thing that kind of spawned the idea was I was playing Red Dead Redemption 2 when it came out. It was started the band in like spring or winter 2019, and the game had come out the fall before that, 2018. And I think I just remember the score because the first game has a very like traditional spaghetti western kind of score. Then the second game has a kind of it bounces around. There's like some weird rock western kind of stuff going on in places. I think I just remember thinking that I wish there was like a black metal band that did this.
Yeah.
And after that, I mean, I think our first song was written about Blood Meridian, the Cormac McCarthy novel.
Well, that's cool. So, I mean, yeah, you're a gamer. We don't normally talk about games on this podcast, but I mean, we definitely can today since we've got an excuse to. So, Red Dead Redemption 2 is an influence for Dark Watcher. That's cool. And I haven't ever played it, but I've been told by people that I trust their opinions on games that it's, you got to. It's a masterpiece. It's a long game, but it's worth it kind of thing.
Yeah, it's great.
It looks really good. I think I just can't get over the having to hold X to sprint thing. Like, come on, Rockstar. I don't know, but that's neither here nor there. But what you were saying about like, I wish there was a black metal band that wrote about this. I totally understand that because I've had that thought many times. In fact, like it'd be so easy to do a Valheim themed one too. Mm-hmm. Like it'd be pretty kind of cheesy, but it'd be easy to do for sure.
There's already a lot of Viking themed bands, so you could definitely do something.
Yeah, I mean, I just specifically Valheim, like the lore of that game and writing about that would be really, really fun, I think. But I don't know. Probably won't get around to it. I've got like 12 projects. So There's actually, speaking of how many projects I actually have so many damn projects that I, of all things, decided I might start a black metal slash kind of like High on Fire style band about peppers, like spicy peppers. That's how far gone my head is right now. I'm like, I'm gonna make a band that's themed around eating pepper pods. I was gonna call it Pod Eater. I even have a logo for it. I've got a song written, but I'm just like, I don't know if I should actually commit to this. That's ridiculous. So
Sure, why
that's
not?
when, if you're that far gone, you need to focus on the money makers and reel it back in. But not that we're making money here, but yeah. So Dark Watcher, you've got, it looks like 2 EPs out and then a compilation of those EPs, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So you had, it looks like 2 different vocalists on those 2 different EPs as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's good stuff, man. I like all of it. It's I'm definitely, you know, I mean, to be totally transparent to the audience and everybody here, I'm broke as hell right now, but I have a growing wish list on Bandcamp, and that's on it, and it should be on yours too. Absolutely. We're big, we're big fans of experimental black metal here for sure. Like different styles of black metal that you don't normally hear. That's kind of what we got started with here at the label, was different types of post black metal. Like Adrian's project, I See Satan Fall Like Lightning, is very atmospheric and just shoegazy, and my thing with Pull the Strings goes all over the place, just depending on the release. But that's kind of our focus, is like weird black metal. So it's really cool to see somebody doing something interesting with it. It's not just a ripoff of like the first wave, which is all too easy to do, and it's so overdone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who would be some of your influences that got you into extreme metal in general?
And extreme metal. Well, like the first band I was really passionate about was Metallica.
Oh yeah,
But I went through like metalcore, deathcore when I was in high school.
same here. Yep.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of when I got into like Black Death, Doom. I guess it was around the time I graduated. I remember I was posting on like online forums and like rating aggregate websites and just like talking to other music nerds, and I think I probably made some lists on these sites like recommend me like black metal. I'm trying to get into this, and I probably just went down the list there. What was the first thing I really? I remember thinking stuff like Dark Throne. I didn't like Dark Throne at first that much, but then like they're one of my favorite bands now.
Yeah.
Mayhem. A lot of the second wave stuff was a little bit abrasive for me. I got into like the atmospheric stuff first, like Caladan Brood. I really love them for like the summoning, kind of dungeon synthy black metal thing.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool stuff.
I liked post black a lot. That was easier for me to transition to. Lant Loss. I love them.
Yeah. I know that, both of us got into the extreme metal genres with streaming available to us. So you just dive in and it's all there, and you just kind of like,
Yeah,
it just floods you. And it's like, so it's hard to remember the very first couple of things that you listen to. I know that feeling. Luckily, I do still have all my playlists on Spotify from when I was getting into like black metal and stuff. So I can go back and look at like the artist I was checking out and everything. But yeah, it's hard for me to pinpoint if, like I said on a couple episodes ago, like it's a whole lot easier for me to pinpoint the post-black artists that inspired me, because those have directly inspired my writing.
mm-hmm.
The straightforward black metal bands that I've listened to have definitely inspired the way I write drums more than anything, but the actual chords and stuff, like that's mostly from the post-black influence. So I mean, it's a lot easier for me to just be like, yeah, so Deaf Heaven and Wolves in the Throne Room and all that kind of stuff is like what really influences me personally. That's just because it's what I do is post black metal in a way. So, oh, so what about death metal on that side of things? Any major inspirations there?
Just current ones, or like when I was getting into extreme metal again.
Oh, let's do both. Starting with when you got into it.
What were the first death metal bands I was into? I know I stretched into like tech death, like prog death first.
Yeah.
A little bit, and then I did a lot of working backwards. Like metalcore, deathcore to like kind of modern-y bands to like, and then going back to 80s, 90s thrash, death, black. Trying to think. Everybody hears Cannibal Corpse pretty quick.
Oh yeah, yep, big influence on me for sure.
Yeah, it's hard to
Yeah,
remember who
Cannibal
the.
Corpse and what was that other band? Not Deicide, but the one that Glenn Benton was in, Vital Remains. Big influence on me too.
But I listen to so much now. But as far as like probably maybe for like Acrid Tomb influences, I listen to a lot of Death Doom for the split.
Yeah, you were telling me about like Demolich, right?
Yeah, there's a little Demolich. There's one riff I was trying to do a Demolich rip off. I don't know if it worked or not, but
It's a sick riff.
Incantation,
For sure,
Suffocation
yeah.
was for the demo. I really like Obliteration. They're one of my favorites.
Yeah, Incantation is like responsible for so much of the new wave of old school, you know. Everybody's ripping them off. Some people do it better than others, but very, very influential band. I'm sure they didn't realize how influential they were going to be. Yeah, that's cool. So you're into like different types of death metal now? Like any specific subgenres of it you really favor or anything like that?
I try to dabble in everything if I can. Right now, I've been on a pretty big Floridian kick. I've been going back and listening to a lot of the early stuff. I was listening to Chuck Schuldener's. I think he's in Mantis. I think I was listening to the Mantis demos that from like way even before Death started, kind of shit.
I've never heard that stuff.
Yeah, it's real old.
Oh, that's cool.
So you're saying you got into metal like through like metalcore, new metal, right? Or is it...
I mean, I think I got into Metallica from Guitar Hero when it came out.
Okay.
Again, all this stuff goes back to video games, but I went from like Metallica to Disturbed to like metalcore, basically.
Yeah. So I'm guessing you're probably around the same age as me. I'm 35, and like that stuff.
I'll be 30 this year.
Yeah. So like it seems like kind of like people in their 30s, they tend to like their first like time experiencing like all like American metal and stuff was kind of those same bands. I remember like for me like Lamb of God was kind of a gateway into heavier music for me. But yeah, like my first experience with like death metal was Cattle Decapitation.
Yeah.
So what were some of the metalcore and like bands that you listened to?
The first one was Killswitch Engage. They were my favorite band from a lot of my teens. Basically I went through the new wave of American heavy metal thing. Yeah. Killswitch, All That Remains, As I Lay Dying, Lamb of God, all those.
Yeah. Killswitch was my first concert I went to. They opened for Lamb of God. It was Killswitch and Shadows Fall opening for Lamb of God. So that was 2006. I was like 15 or 16.
Yeah. To tie this all back into video games and Guitar Hero, the very first time I was introduced to Killswitch Engage was actually my cousin's husband was he came into the room when I was playing Guitar Hero 3. And I think I was playing like Devil Down to Georgia or whatever that song is. And then he was like telling me about Killswitch Engage and how I had checked them out and how all their songs were so good. And I was like, okay, whatever. But then I went home and checked them out and I was like, okay, this is amazing. And I think that was right after I had just discovered metalcore. I think the first thing I discovered in the metalcore scene was Parkway Drive. I actually found them on it was on the Walmart MP3 website, if you guys remember that. Yeah. And I found a Warped Tour sample CD on there. And Parkway Drive was the heaviest thing I'd ever heard in my life. And I remember immediately after hearing like 10 seconds of it, I like turned my speakers almost all the way up and just let it rip. I was like, this is just how this is supposed to be listened to, you know? But yeah, I was a big metalcore kid as well. You know, my favorite band for the longest time was The Devil Wears Prada. I was into that whole, you know, just, I don't know what you'd call it, Risecore thing with the Mice and Men and Memphis Mayfire and The Devil Wears Prada and all those bands was my jam. Asking Alexandria big time back in the day. And of all those bands, the only one that I still like is actually The Devil Wears Prada, so props to them. But yeah, I mean, that was the thing, was they had the shirts with the crazy graphics and everything, and it was just fun. I don't know. I enjoyed it. Warped Tour was awesome. Did you ever get to go to a Warped Tour?
Yeah, I went at least 4 times. I think I remember I
Okay.
saw Del Wars Prada. They were the last act, and it was like first or second Warped Tour I went to. That was a really great show.
Yeah. I saw them in 2014. They were the last band, and it was raining, and they were like, "Only the survivors shall remain," or something like that. It was so heavy. I loved it. But yeah, I mean, August Burns Red, like all that stuff, especially like for a long time, like all the like, what would you call them? All the like, Christian and Christian adjacent metalcore bands. I was into all that stuff a lot, and it's definitely influenced me. I did go back and check out where they got their ideas for riffs from like At the Gates and stuff like that. But I don't know. It's part of me. Like there's a little bit of core on some of the stuff that I'm doing to this day. Just a little bit, not too much. Like I don't want to make music that's in metalcore or deathcore specifically, but there's a little bit of that influence. Maybe more like Meshuggah core, but I don't know. Well, that's really cool, dude. I didn't know that about you. I did know that you knew about some like post-hardcore, because I think we've briefly talked about Dance Gavin Dance and how you like one of their albums.
Yeah,
which was surprising to me, because obviously I know you through a death metal project, but that's cool. That's probably still my favorite band. So that's one thing I want to do. Speaking of black metal versions of things, I really want to do a black metal cover of something from Dance Gavin Dance, but like make it completely unrecognizable,
sure, why not?
Just for fun. I might end up doing that with Pull the Strings. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard a song from them. So
it doesn't surprise me. They're not your cup of tea, I wouldn't say, but
okay. Yeah.
Especially the vocals, you would probably just be like, this is a little gaudy at the least. But I mean, I don't know. Adrian here, he tends to find the really underground stuff, and he's got good death metal recommendations, some black metal recommendations for sure. Like you were telling me about Martre, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's some sick stuff, dude.
Yeah, he just came out. He just released a record, I think, a couple days ago. So
nice. Yeah, and then I guess that's another thing we could talk about is for sure is just any cool shit you've found on Bandcamp recently, Brett.
What was I just listening to? I was listening to the Skagos record. They're like a Cascadian black metal type band. They've been quiet for like a decade, and they just dropped an album last year that was really good. Let me see if I can pull up my Bandcamp, actually.
Skagos, never heard of them. So where are these guys from?
I assume they're northeastern or northwestern U.S. That's where most of the Cascadian bands are.
Yeah, it was recorded in Olympia, Washington. It doesn't say where they're from. They're from Olympia, Washington. Okay, cool.
Yeah. I guess the biggest one I listened to was Titan Blood. That's been mainstay for this month.
That's a good band. I haven't listened to them since probably 2016, but that's a good band. Titan Blood. So they got anything new out?
Yep, just dropped an album a couple weeks ago. I think it was a couple weeks ago.
Oh, nice.
Is that Titan Blood?
Yeah, Teitan Blood. Yeah, both of those are going in my wish list for sure, which is ever growing, and I have no way to afford, but oh well. It's the thought that counts sometimes. Sweet. Yeah, you got any plans actually, before we talk about future plans, you got any other projects that I don't know about? Now, I know you mentioned a war metal band, right?
Yep.
So what was that one all about?
It's like the same deal as I was talking about with Acrid Tomb. I always want to just like rip somebody off on my first demo. It's just like I just want to make some music in a style, and then eventually it kind of turns into its own thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted to make a demo in like the war metal style, and then we settled on like kind of a Greek, like Bronze Age theme. So we did like, it was about the Trojan War. And then you'd have to ask the vocalist I worked with on the second release, because it was like a some Greek mythology thing. I don't know, but
Yeah. And
I
what
just make
was
the
that
religious
band's
stuff
name
up.
again?
Cynocephalus, or I actually don't know how to pronounce it, to be honest, but
I
I can
got you.
type it to you if I need to.
I found it. Yeah. I
Yeah.
sounded it out.
We were just talking about that. Some of these bands, the names are ridiculous. Like, I have trouble like telling people like, oh, find this band. Like, I can't pronounce it. But
So this second album here, Blood Ran in Torrents, Drenched Was All the Earth. That's it, right?
Yep, that's our first demo.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, sweet. Wishlisted as well. I'll check all that out. That's a really cool idea for a project too. So that's everything you got, or you got anything that's like even more hidden?
I got something I'm working on that hasn't, it's not for sure yet. I was playing around with some first wave style black metal, real old school raw thrash kind of thing with this guy. So we'll see how that goes. I have like a couple riffs, but we'll see if
Gotcha.
it comes out.
Yeah. Well, that leads me into what I wanted to talk about with you next, which is like just guitar and gear talk for a little while, because I know that you have your ESP Stephen Carpenter, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what you recorded the Acrid Tomb with, is that 7-string, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is a super sick guitar. You've got like the emerald green one, right?
Yeah, it's awesome.
oh,
Yeah.
sick. I had
Yeah.
is it the SP version or the LTD? Because I had the LTD version. I ended up selling that one. I kind of regret that.
Oh, you had that one?
Yeah. I sold it like a year or two ago.
Gotcha.
Killer
Those are really cool
guitar.
guitars. Was it a newer one with the Fishman pickups?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got like 8 strings, 9 strings. Like he works with Kiesel now too. They're all really cool guitars. I'm not sure if I'm huge on the all white Kiesel, but whatever. I just like Telecasters, so it's kind of up my alley, especially for like an extended range Telecaster,
Yeah.
But I like kind of all guitars, anything from pointy to round and all things in between. What other kind of guitars do you have, Brett?
I have a Gibson Les Paul Studio that I think I'm going to break out for that first wave project. It feels like it would fit that one.
Yeah.
I usually use my what is it? It's a Schecter Damien Elite 7 with a Floyd Rose. I like to use that one for solos just because I have the Floyd Rose, basically.
Yeah.
I've got another Schecter 8-string. Do I have another one? I got a bass.
What's the 8-string?
It's a shoot. It might be a Hellraiser. It might be a Hellraiser 8.
Okay. Nice. Yeah, I think the Hellraiser 8 is like 28 inches long, if I'm not mistaken.
It's really long, yeah.
Which is really cool. I'm a big fan of multi-scale. Like my 8-string is fan fret, and my basses are fan fret as well. It just makes sense to me. But if I was going to go with just regular scale, like straight frets, then I would want the longer scale like that. That would help a lot. Yeah, I love my 8-string, and I had a Strandberg before as well, a Strandberg Bowden 8-string that was amazing, but I had to sell it, unfortunately. But right now I've got the Ibanez. It's like the cheapest multi-scale 8-string that they make, and it's actually so sick. Like I'm so happy with it. Do you just record direct to your computer, or do you have amps, or what do you do for that?
Yeah, I've got. I don't know if you can see it behind me. I got a
mini
6505 mini. I have some microphones, so I could record live if I want to, but I just do direct.
Yeah, so much better. I mean, not better, but so much easier for sure. And it can sound just as good if you do it. If you use the right impulse responses and stuff, it can sound really, really good. So, no worries there. That's what I do with all my stuff, is direct, both guitar and bass. It's easier to edit after the fact if you need to.
In my experience, it sounds better because I'm terrible at miking cabs. I don't know what's going on.
It is a little bit of science.
Dude, it's so hard. I can't do it. I gave up.
Yeah. And plus, I mean, the speaker is the main thing that changes the sound. So if you only have like one cab, then you're very limited with your guitar tone.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another big reason to record direct for sure. I mean, but everybody does it. Unless you're going to a studio and like the point is to have recorded guitar tones because they have every cabin amp you could ever want, then I don't see a reason to really commit to it. It's just locking yourself into something that you can't change after the fact. So, okay, so we talked about guitars. We go direct. So what about amp sims and stuff? You got any favorite tones that you want to? And you can keep things secret if you want, but I mean, I love talking about this stuff.
No, the ones I always use is you can't buy them anymore. It was Thermionic, or is it Thermionic who makes them, or is that just I don't know. It's some they have their own. They have a new amp sim, but I got this like pack of like Thermionic amp sims. So there was like 20 or 25, and there's several PVs, Mesas, Marshalls, all that stuff.
I don't know about
you
these.
can't
I'm
buy
gonna
them
look it up.
anymore. But I got them, and they work really good for me. So I stick with them.
I mean, I know of the company from their studio gear, but I don't know about their plugins. I've never heard of them.
Let me see if I can find it in my files real quick.
Oh, I see them here. There's like
Thermionic Suite 5 or something. Kazrog is who makes it.
Gotcha. Okay, well that makes sense. Kazrog does awesome stuff, actually.
Yeah.
Like they have a block letter amp sim that sounds amazing now. I see it here. Yeah. Well, that's interesting. That's definitely the first time I've ever heard that one come up. How long have you had that?
I must have got it in 2019 when I was starting Dark Watcher, and I just I've tried a bunch of amp sims. I was getting into I was trying to do some audio engineering myself and just cut costs, but I gave up on that. But I just stick with those amp sims. They do really good with me.
Yeah, I mean, I would have never guessed that's what you use, but they do sound awesome from what I've heard. That's really interesting. I mean, most of the time I'm just using the neural DSP stuff, or if not those, then I use something called Tonex, which is not a modeler; it's a capturing thing, kind of like the Kemper. That's what I use a lot when I want a unique amp sound that I don't have in like my plugins. I'll just go there and like search for it on there. Like they have like a not internet. They have like a ToneNet thing that you can search for where people have uploaded their tones, and I'll just go find something there. Can usually find something pretty good pretty quickly there. So I like Tonex a lot, but yeah, other than that, just using the neural DSP stuff for all my projects most of the time, especially Fort and Cali Suite. I use that one a lot for rhythms, and then the Archetype Plenty. I use that one for leads and cleans and everything, layers. It has just all the effects you could want. Yeah, and then I know Adrian here. He uses what is it called? I can't remember.
But my amp, it's the 11. I don't know.
The 1111 by
11.
What's that company called?
Auto
Audio.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so that's an interesting one too. The Auto 1111. It's got a very huge wall of sound vibe to it.
Yeah, but I think that's a lot to do with just the way to mix and master.
Yeah,
yeah,
that too.
I gotta really tame the guitars. I'm trying to for this next one, but I don't know.
You don't got to, man. I mean, it's a thing. It's a vibe if it's just like all encompassingly loud,
Yeah.
So that's up to you. I mean, I tend to mix more clean than you for sure, but a lot of people like their metal to be, I don't know how to describe the way you do things. Just huge,
Yeah, it's kind of like washed, kind of washed out sound, like very, I don't know. So,
and that's another thing, like, we could talk about this a little bit if we have like preferences for metal production, because, people can have really strong opinions about that. And we do a little bit of everything here at the label, from very clean and modern to very like just, kind of shitty on purpose. So what do you have a preference, or is it kind of per band for you, Brett?
It's definitely per band, although I'd probably lean towards generally like raw or organic. Sometimes that's like a loaded word.
Shitty is definitely a loaded way to put it.
It takes a lot of takes a specific style for me to really get into like some really sleek modern production styles, like some like technical or prog death bands. Like I don't mind if the production's slicker, but for most death metal, I want some like grit. It needs to sound kind of rotten,
Yeah, well, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate all shades of the spectrum personally, and it is a per band thing for me. But it can ruin an album for sure if it's too much one way or the other for the sound of that album. I
Yeah.
definitely have had that experience where I really like the writing of something, but it's like I'm not going to name any names, but there's a specific album I'm thinking of where the writing is like kind of dissonant death metal, but the production is really Meshuggah. And it's just kind of jarring. It doesn't really fit too well. And I'm just like, I wish this was more death metal and I would like it more. But what are you going to do? It's easier than ever to make things sound perfect in the DAW, because of all the tutorials on YouTube.
Yeah.
And it's actually harder than ever to make things sound organic. So you know, I definitely respect the organic sound for sure. But with that said, the way things are going, I feel like you're going to be able to just open a prompt in your DAW and say, mix this in an organic black metal style, and it'll AI do everything for you in the next 5 years. We'll see. It's probably going to be FL Studio that does it first, those bastards. I have an unreasonable and unnecessary hatred for FL Studio. Sorry, everybody that uses it. Whatever you need to use to make music, if it works for you, that's amazing. That's awesome. I just personally, for me, I really can't stand FL Studio. It feels like a toy to me. Well, let's talk about that. What DAW do you use, man?
Studio One.
Okay, solid choice there. Yeah, Studio One is a good. So I think of DAWs in categories like there's ones that are good for multi-track recording audio. There's ones that are good for production, like electronic music or anything that you want to produce, like whether it's symphonic music with VST instruments or electronic music. But I think of DAWs in those two categories usually. There's ones that cross over in the middle, like Ableton crosses over pretty well. But I prefer multi-track audio DAWs very strongly because that's what I do. I record audio, vocals, guitars, bass. I don't record real drums very often, but but I need to be able to record audio really, really rapidly whenever I have an idea. And so I prefer DAWs like Studio One. I use Cubase. I mean, there's plenty of them out there that do it really well. I would hesitate to make a list without including Reaper because it's the goated choice, and I also use it sometimes. It's the thinking man's DAW. And then Adrian uses Logic. That's a good choice too. You got anything to say about Logic? Love it, hate it?
Well, it's the only one I've used other than GarageBand.
Yeah.
So I'd say I love it.
Nice.
I don't know. It's very user friendly.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about music production when I started, so it was really easy to just get started right away and make music.
Yeah, I mean, all the buttons kind of do what they look like they should do.
Yeah.
It's got a nice, simple interface, and it works. And the plugins that come with it are pretty good too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, most of the stuff I use is just stock, and it's very easy to like figure out stuff. Like, I don't know. I thought about trying to mess around with some other ones, but I don't know. Maybe in the future, but for now, I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, I'll ask you about this too, Brett. But I started out with FL Studio actually, and that's one of the reasons why I have the right to hate it. But I quickly realized its limitations and that it just wasn't designed for metal production. And so I moved on to Cubase. And the reason I use Cubase is because of because of Misha Mansour from Periphery. He was a proponent of Cubase. And back in 2015, he made a couple of videos about how to record guitar in Cubase. And so I was like, all right. And I purchased it. And then I did not learn how to use it for like 6 years. Because it has a huge steep learning curve. It is complicated. It's a power user software for sure. But when I finally got serious about recording my ideas and writing music, I buckled down and learned it. And now that I know it, it's the best feeling ever. Just anything I need to do, I can just do very quickly in Cubase now, which is how you want to be with your DAW, of course. But I will say, yeah, it's better to stick with what you know, Adrian, especially something as capable as Logic. Like, you don't have any reason to change anytime soon. You if you have a specific need for something that it doesn't do, then sure. But otherwise, I would just say stick with what you know, kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And Studio One, I don't know a whole lot about. Actually, the only person I really have seen on YouTube using Studio One is I don't know his name, but there's this guy that does a channel called Mixing Music Analog, and he has a big desk, SSL console, and it works really well for him with that. But obviously, it works really well for just plugging a guitar into an interface too, from what I've seen. But yeah, that's cool, man. Do you have any other thoughts about Studio One or anything? Is that the only DAW you've ever used?
I remember when I was in like a metalcore band when I was in high school, and I remember I had a pirated version of Pro Tools I used for a while.
Yeah.
And then when I started Darkwatcher, for the first couple of years, I used Mixcraft, I think.
Oh yeah, I know about Mixcraft. Yeah, I know a good bit about Mixcraft, and it when it works, it's great, but it's kind of a buggy software, as what I've seen. But it has a bunch of like instruments included with it and stuff like that, so that it's helpful when you're getting started like that. It's kind of a simpler DAW. Yeah, interesting. And Pro Tools, I absolutely cannot. It washes over me. It's just like, this is not usable software as far as I'm concerned. It's like no better than Audacity for making actual music as far as I'm concerned, because I just don't know how to use it. I'm sure it works great for most people, but I hate it. Also, it's extremely expensive for what you get, and the free version gives you 8 tracks to record on total. So what are you going to do with that? Nothing. Anyways. Yeah, interesting to talk about DAWs. We talked about gear, talked about metal. Let's see.
Let's talk about like how you actually record your tracks and like write. Like, do you start with like lyrics, or do you start with the music? Do you start with the music like guitars, bass, drums? Like, kind of how do you structure how you write stuff?
Definitely answer that, but in addition, I want to ask you, kind of like connected to that, because I think you're an author too, right?
Yep.
Right. So I want to ask you, just when you're writing songs, when you're writing lyrics, how much of that process is like helped or hurt by being an author?
I think I just always have a really strong sense of like theme, probably, or like I guess, because I try and stay away from lyrics, even though I write stories and stuff. I really try and stay away from lyrics because I feel like I'm very bad at it. It's just that writing a lyric is just totally different from writing a sentence of prose. I've written some lyrics, but usually it's when I have to.
Yeah. So you start out with the music then?
Yeah, and riffs first. I'm a guitar player first. I always start with a riff or a melody or something.
Yeah. And, this is something that's came up on the podcast before, but like, it's a big jump to go from just writing a riff to writing a full song.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big jump for a lot of people. It's something that can take 10 years to even figure out how to do, So how'd that go for you?
Yeah, it definitely took a long time. I mean, so like when I started Darkwatcher, I had like stopped playing hardly. I didn't play very much guitar in the years before that because I was in college and I didn't have a lot of time. And like when I started college, I was kind of into the idea of studying music. And my first semester, I was going for a music degree, and I gave up on it. So I just wasn't playing that much. But I don't know. I guess it was just like having a really interesting idea of like the Western black metal thing. I had to relearn a lot of stuff. I went on my way to like learn a lot of theory over again. And it just went from there. I mean, you got to spend a lot of time figuring out drums. I'm still figuring out how to write drums from a guitar player's perspective.
Yep.
I still look up videos sometimes, like what does this beat look like when you're punching it in MIDI, Other instruments like Darkwatcher, because it's like that grandiose Western thing. I got to use like trumpets sometimes or violins. Nice. So I got to learn how that looks in a MIDI setting.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it took probably about a decade to go from just playing riffs to be able to write a song. It's just a new muscle to exercise, and when you let it atrophy, that can be, it can be a pain in the ass for sure. But like anything, you just keep working on it and you get better at it. You get more creative with it. I know for me, it's been so easy, and it's been hard for me to. Well, let me go back to the first way I was phrasing that. It's been easy for me to get stuck in really rigid song structures because of the fact that I use Easy Drummer. And Easy Drummer puts patterns into song structures. It's like intro, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, and then bridge, And so I've always written drums that way. And so my songs have always been very basic usually. And sometimes I try to switch it up, but yeah, it's been a long process for getting from writing riffs to writing very basic song structures to getting actually creative with just writing whatever comes to my mind. And I'm not a theory guy. I don't really know too much theory. I know the names of some scales. That's about it. I know how to kind of communicate in a band setting, but very, barbarian like. So it's still a struggle for me, but I've found what works for me with metal at least, and pop and other things. Like I've kind of done a little bit of everything at this point. Yeah, I mean, writing is such a deep topic, but I just, no matter what, I feel like this is everybody, even our idols. I feel like you're always going to write something and then come back 6 months or a year later and be like, man, I could do that so much better.
For
That
sure.
feeling of just like, if I had known what I know now then, kind of thing. Or even just if I could hear what I can hear now then, because your ear for mixing and writing and all of those things just continuously evolves, and it never stops till the day you die. But thankfully, I have noticed that over time, after you've done it for enough years, you start to be a little bit more okay with the things that you put out because you've just gotten pretty good. Which, by the way, I don't know how you feel about the stuff you've put out. You're free to talk about it if you want, but I would definitely be proud of it. Like doesn't sound like you cut corners with any of it to me.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty. I'm not really mad at anything I've put out there. There's just like stuff I'm like, I wish I did that differently, but like, and you always get like reaffirmed when somebody likes it. Like,
Yeah.
I've got an album coming out this year for Dark Watcher, by the way. So
yeah.
I've been sitting on these demos for a couple years, and it's like I start thinking, man, this sucks. Actually, am I really gonna put this out? And then I show it to some people, and they're like they're glowing, and it's like that's completely like, oh well, I'm doing pretty good actually. I guess I should keep pursuing this.
Yeah, man, that is kind of what we're after as studio musicians. We're after just one person really liking it, maybe once every like 3 months, and we're good. That keeps us going.
Yeah.
And it's that, and then also coming back to something that you wrote like a year later and being like, oh yeah, that was pretty cool. Both of those feelings are kind of what sustain me, at least as a studio musician. Well, heck yeah, man. I'm excited about the Dark Watcher album. Well, I'm following you on Bandcamp, and everybody listening should go do the same. Definitely follow Acrid Tomb as well. And then I can't pronounce it, Cynocephalus. Yeah, that one too, which is also out there on Bandcamp as well. Definitely keep an eye on what Brett's up to. It's really cool stuff. It's got just a ton of vibe, a ton of character to it. He admitted that he likes to start by ripping things off, but I think it all sounds original in its own way. So, it's good. It's good shit. And I'm definitely happy to have been a part of the Acrid Tomb split that came out last year. So thanks again, man, for hitting me up for that.
Yep, that's great.
Very cool experience. You got any more questions, Adrian?
I think we covered everything, man. That was pretty good.
Hell yeah. I think the only thing that we have new to announce for the label is that there is a new Pull the Strings EP coming out June 27th. So you can go check out the pullthestrings.bandcamp.com if you want to follow and stay tuned for that. But other than that, we don't have anything else. And that'll wrap us up for this episode of Dissonant Echoes number 9. We're going to keep trucking along, folks. We've got some more interviews lined up. Some more Friendship Simulator with just me and Adrian. Bullshittery, that kind of thing. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for listening to Dissonant Echoes Episode 9 with Brett Tharp. To roll you on out of here, I'm going to finish the episode with a track from Hermetic Invocations, which is the split EP that Acrid Tomb and Tomb of Annihilation put out last year. Going to roll the track Feast of the Black Archons. Enjoy.